Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, giving you guys company. And yeah, it is a brand new week, a brand new Monday right here at Relax Radio. That's right, it's RELAKS, because we don't believe in that negativity. What we try to do is try to portray that positive stuff. And yeah, if you're wondering who this is, I'm Nick. I'm giving you company on Real Talk all the way to 6. So make sure you come this way if you have a dedication or a shout out, or you want to talk about something relevant that is going on right now in the UK, well, feel free to hit me up. The numbers to do so are 07852473473. That's right, those are the magical numbers. And if you want to check us out on our social media platform, we're pretty big on social media. You can check us out on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and make sure to subscribe, follow, and like us. Yeah, that's definitely right there. If you're looking for that hot that topics that is going on right now across the UK. Well, all the current affairs and entertainment, or what have you. Well, check us out on our social media pages. And also don't forget, you can download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And welcome back to the show, and we're going to be talking about all things that is going on right now in the UK. What with the G7 summit happening, very, very close. It's very close that's happened. And the other thing is also how Labour has been demanding for further probing into Boris Johnson's flat revamps. Yeah, there's been talk about that as well. A lot of these the Labour Party rather wants to know what is going on. They want a more thorough investigation with regards to that. And the highlight also of what is happening today, especially when we come to travel. Well, Portugal travel delays have been frustrating a lot of Britain these days. Yeah, a lot of the British people have been totally upset and frustrated with regards to this. And this is just something that is happening, and British holidaymakers in Portugal are rushing back home before the country is added to the UK's travel amber list amid concerns about the rising COVID cases. So right now there's been a lot of these rising COVID cases in Portugal. So because of that, a lot of people have been rushing back home, and this is of concern. People are frustrated that something like this has happened. And on Tuesday, Portugal will be dropped from the green list, and returnees will be made to self-isolate for 10 days and take 2 PCR tests. So the people who did travel to the UK, well, they're to Portugal rather, from the UK to Portugal, well, they're rushing back to the country, and this is causing a lot of mayhem right now. People are frustrated, and they're rushing right back, and they're taking the first flight home because they don't want to be stuck in these quarantine centers for 14 days. And airlines have had it extra capacity with a lot of these airways saying there are seats available, but people are reporting difficulties in getting pre-departure tests. So before departing, they have to do 2 kind of tests, and because of that, they are not able to do that because of the high volume right now of people coming back to the UK. And bookings to Portugal soared last month, in case you guys are wondering. And after it was placed on the green list, a lot of people have traveled to Portugal right now. It was booming their tourism for some time. And UK residents could travel there without any kind of quarantine. It's because of that a lot of people did go there to visit, and they wanted to see a little bit of the sun and the beach and what have you. But in the end, the government last Thursday announced Portugal would be moved to the amber list, and this is mostly because of the rising number of cases in that country. Yeah, that's right. And the Department for Transport cited a near doubling of the reports, and there's been a near doubling essentially of positive cases in Portugal in the last 3 weeks. That's right. In the last couple of weeks, they've had that many cases, and this is of concern. And this is one of the reasons why it's a very, very big problem. And like I said, all of these things are happening right now in the UK. And with regards to all of that, like I said, this is a big concern. A lot of these authorities have been pondering, what's happening? Why is there so many cases? Well, there's been a rise of cases. People wanted to come back from the UK. From the UK, they went to Portugal, but then it didn't really work out for them 100%, because right now Portugal is rather seeing a rise in cases, and that is a very big concern. And a lot of these British people actually are angry. A lot of the people from the UK also are very frustrated because the government, initially told them, okay, you guys can go and travel to Portugal and you can do whatever you want because it's the green list. It's a green list country. You don't have to stay in quarantine and 2 things about that. But now they're relegating and they're saying, okay, listen, now you guys, whoever is in Portugal, if you're coming back, you will have to stay for 14 days. And that is going to be a problem. That is going to be a concern. And people are angry. And it's understandable why they're so frustrated. And and it's mostly because it's got to do with the variant, that is right now circulating in the UK. That is the Delta variant. And Health Secretary Matt Hancock said tough rules on travel were necessary to protect the success of the UK vaccine rollout. And he is due to update the MPs this evening, this afternoon rather, on the latest developments in the pandemic. And 39 flights will leave Faro Airport in the Algrave for UK on Monday. So nearly twice the usual total. So that's more than the estimated number of people who went into Portugal are coming out right now, and there's a lot of people coming out. And the BA said passengers can change to a different airline free of charge by rebooking through its website. While a lot of these airlines are saying it'll not charge fees for switching flights as well. However, the UK's move has seen some passengers struggle, and the struggle is real. If you look at it, the struggle is definitely real, and it's very frustrating for a lot of these people. I mean, when you think about it, you went to a country where the government approved, and they said, okay, listen, you can travel to these countries. You don't have to go under any kind of quarantine. You don't have to go under any kind of lockdown. You don't have to do anything, essentially. You get the vaccine, you do 2 tests before you travel, and then once you reach there, you'll have to do a test. And before you come back to the country, you'll have to do a test there, and back in our country, another test. That was the whole plan. That was how it was supposed to play out. But what happened now is right now the UK decided, okay, with the rising number of cases, boom, what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this in the amber list. We're gonna make sure that Portugal's in the amber list for our safety. I mean, it is for our safety, but at the same time, it's very inconvenient for a lot of the people who did travel to these countries. People, like I said, have been struggling to obtain proof of their negative COVID test needed before they can return to the UK. So because of that, because of the number of tests, the high volume of people who are leaving Portugal and coming back to the UK, they've seen a rise in these cases, and there's been trouble like this. So this is just, some of these issues. And when you think about it, the travel industry, like I said, is what they hope to avoid. This is exactly what a lot of the travel industry, rather, has been trying to avoid this summer. And they're trying to avoid all of these scenarios. But right now, it's unhelped. We can't really do anything about it because in the end of the day, we have to come back. We have to make people come back again, for our safety, for the country's safety. But at the same time, this is inconvenient. This is what I was saying. Like when it came down to lockdown, a lot of people did travel. This is the consequences, the repercussions rather, of traveling. Like I said, if you kept it local, it would have been easier. We could have avoided all of these things. There's hassles involved into this. And right now, people are struggling. They are frustrated. And the government has no answer to this rather than saying, okay, listen, right now, we are saying that this country is dangerous to go to. It's turned back into the amber list. So you make sure you guys come back to the country. And if you come back, well, you will have to undergo a lot of these tests as well and stay in quarantine for 14 days. And that is of concern. And this is just, another thing that is going on. And with that concern, also, you got to understand a lot of people, like I said, are very frustrated, and the travel industry as well. The businesses are very angry, and they thought, that the rollout of the vaccine would bring more consistency to this, as would the government's introduction rather of a watch list intended, to signal to potential passengers that a country could be on the verge of tipping from green to amber. But none of that happened. But the government has shown, that when it's concerned about letting in variants, it can and will close the doors as it did last summer. So it's the same thing that happened last summer. In case you guys are wondering, this is why you're getting that deja vu feeling. Well, this is it. This is the reason. The reason is, this thing happened, and they did promise, and they did say, okay, they were in talks about something like this. They were going to put an app, and they were going to make sure, that they keep people informed. But now they're deciding, okay, boom, we're going to make it amber. You guys better come back quick. And that's a hassle right there, and it's led to a lot of frustration. It's a huge frustration on the travel sector, and made many of them nervous about how strong sales will be this summer. So the crucial season for the industry, this is the summer season, and people are expected to travel. And now that they did, and now they're sending it back to amber list, it's going to be a concern, and that's a problem. There's a lot of problem with regards to that, and I understand the people's frustration, these businesses' frustration, just when they thought they can get back up and start picking up from the bottom where they were, and now they're trying to pick up and get back on their 2 legs. Well, it's not working out. The government had other plans, and it's also, you can't really blame the government, because yes, you can blame the government with regards to them telling you, okay, this. It was in the green list. They did tell something like this, but at the same time, you have to understand right now there are variants going on in the country, and you have to be wiser. You have to have common sense, I'd like to say. Common sense is the perfect word for this. It's common sense you don't travel out of the country, even if it is a green list, even if you did get vaccinated, because these kind of hassles will be bound to pop out. And this some are already calling for a furlough to be extended beyond September into the winter. Well, most crucially for those running the operation is understanding how and why countries are moved between lists. So sometimes they say the government needs to be more transparent about these things. And the government would disagree, though, saying it was always been about the vaccine, the variants, the virus, and genomic sequencing. So the next list is expected in a few weeks' time. So between now and then, there will be pressure from the industry for the government to reopen or offer them sector-specific support. And these are just some of the scenes. So Hollywood, there were these kind of problems issuing right now in Portugal as well. And you can see like there are photos on Instagram, on Facebook. You can see all these social media sites. It shows also a lot of these people rushing back to the country, and there's big queues, big lines, and people are coming back to the country because they're afraid. I mean, it's understandable why you're afraid as well. You don't want to be caught in something. You don't want to be, getting the virus is one thing, and then getting caught into an isolation for 14 days is also something else that a lot of people also want to avoid, and they want to, make sure that this does not happen. So on June 2nd, though, Portugal had 5.4 new cases per 100,000 per day, which was only a little higher than the UK at 5.1. But differences in the amount of testing being done make direct comparisons difficult. So Portugal said it could not understand the logic of the UK move and argued the pandemic situation were very similar in both of these countries. And they went on to say, its National Hotels Association said about half of booking in already for June had been canceled within hours of the UK's announcement. So Tony Alderstein from the industry, from all these industries, Airlines UK said 3 months in the summer now appear to be the best case scenario for travel companies, and they could end up seeking further government financial support. And these are just some of the concerns that is popping up right now in these countries. And to make things to understand, I'll give you a little image of what it is exactly. So this whole traffic light systems. There is the green countries, the amber countries, and the red countries. So people who travel to either green, amber, or red will have to fill local passenger forms. So these are passenger locator forms. These forms will help, locate certain individuals or people wherever they're traveling. So it's all got to do with tracing. And then, if you travel to these green or amber or red countries, well, you will have to do pre-departure testing at your destination. But only hotel quarantine will be for the red country. So that will be 10 days. But then for the amber countries, if you are from an amber country, you came in from an amber country, well, you will have to undergo self-isolation. And that is also for 10 days. And that's just, some of the things. And also, when you come from these green and amber countries, well, you will have to do tests to release. So you'll have to do a bunch of these tests as well. These are very important tests. So if you do these tests, only can you come. So on day 5, you'll have to do a test. If you're in an amber country, it's 10 days of isolation. On the 5th day, you'll be doing a test. And on or before the day 2 after return to the UK, you will have to do PCR tests in all these 3 countries, regardless of which country you're coming from. And further testing will only be PCR testing will only be done for people in day 8, after day 8, and these are from countries that come from the amber country zones or the red list countries. So these are some of the requirements. This is painting a picture of how if you want to travel. So essentially, a lot of people don't want to isolate for another 10 days at home, and then they have to do tests and all of that jazz. So this is just a reason why people are frustrated and why they're rushing back home, and they are afraid, that they'll get caught up in something like this. And this is going to be a problem. This is going to, make it an issue for a lot of these hotel industries, especially when it comes to Portugal, when it comes to the UK. We are going to be suffering a tragic blow. So a lot of these companies right now are requesting for a furlough. And they're saying they want to extend it until September because the situation is getting dire. They expected at least 3 months of good scenario, but right now it's the worst case that could happen, and they didn't expect this. So these are some things, that the UK did. And although the numbers are not as much, like if you compare, like I said, it was not a big difference in comparison to Portugal. Right now, the UK and Portugal, if you check, the UK has 5.1 in 100,000 people per day. And the Portugal will have 5.4 new cases per 100,000 people per day. So there's not such a big significant difference. It's not even really a big of a margin, but then the UK is taking the necessary precautions and the steps that they need to do to avoid any kind of spread of the virus. So yeah, this is just on the UK's part. Tell me what you think. If you think they're right, well, you can always hit me up and let me know. The numbers are 07852473473. Feel free to hit me up and let me know if the UK is right on this, or if you're struck in these countries. Well, let us know, and feel free to let us know what your thoughts are and opinions on this matter. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we will be right back after this. Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, giving you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're talking about all things that is going on right now. And yeah, we're discussing about, how Portugal and the people in Portugal right now, especially the Britons who are in Portugal, well, they're very, very frustrated. And, they want the government to make sure that they give these answers right now. And it's understandable, like I said, why they're very frustrated and why it is bothering them. I mean, to be announcing this all of a sudden, it feels like, like a lot of people are not are really 100% happy with regards to this. And yeah, like I said, the travel industry right now is struggling, and they're saying that they have different kinds of sets of problems with, because as a result of this is one thing. And as a result of this, a lot of people are losing their businesses. And yeah, with that regards though, right now, one of the things also the hot topics that is going on right now in the UK is that Labour has been demanding for further probing into Boris Johnson's flat revamp. That's right. They want to know what is going on. How did he get the money? Where did he get the money? They still want to know, and they want a more thorough investigation. So yeah, in case you guys are wondering, you can always feel free to hit me up and let me know what your thoughts are on that matter. It is 07852 473 473. That's right. You can always feel free to call me up and let me know what you guys think. And also, don't forget, we are on social media. You can follow us on Twitter. We are pretty much on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Check us out, like us, follow us, share, and it's all you got to do. And yeah, you can always also download our app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to carry us all day, every day, 365, 24/7. That's right. We'll keep you up to date with what is going on and keep us in your pocket all day, every day. And yeah, getting back to the topic at hand, the issue right now is Boris Johnson. And Parliament's sleaze watchdog should investigate the fundings of Prime Minister's Downing Street flat refurbishment, is what Labour is saying right now. So Boris Johnson was last week cleared of any kind of misconduct and of breaking the ministerial code by his advisor on ministerial interests. But Lord Gate said the Prime Minister had acted unwisely, and Labour says he might have broken the rules governing the conduct of MPs after failing to declare a donation. So Labour is keen to increase the pressure right now on Mr. Johnson over the renovations to his flat as part of its wider charge of cronyism against the government, and has written to the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner, Catherine Stone. So yeah, last Friday, Lord Gate said, who was appointed by the Prime Minister in April as his ministerial standards advisor, said Tory donor Lord Brownlow had paid an invoice to cover some of the costs for the work, which were overseen by Mr. Johnson's wife, Carrie Simmons. Yeah, back then, former fiancée, current wife, Carrie Simmons. So yeah, he accepted that Mr. Johnson had not been aware about how the bill had been paid, but rebuked him for unwisely allowing the refurbishment to proceed without more rigorous regards for how this would be funded. That is, right now what a lot of these politicians want to know. And the Labour, especially when it comes to the Labour Party, they want a clear idea on how this came. And at the time, Labour said it was staggering, and they were that Mr. Johnson could rack up a bill yet have no knowledge of how it was eventually paid. I mean, it does seem kind of fishy. I don't know about you. It does raise an eyebrow a little bit and makes you wonder, okay, what is going on? How can you not know how much you are wasting, like how much you want to put in something, and then you somehow pay it, and then you don't ask yourself, okay, how did I make sure that I eventually paid all of these bills? And this is also what the Labour Party want to know right now. And the party says Mr. Johnson still has more questions to answer in his capacity as Prime Minister, which falls under the remit of Ms. Catherine Stone. So in the letter to the Commissioner, Labour's Deputy Leader, Angela Rayner, noted Ms. Stone had previously reprimanded Mr. Johnson in 2019 for failing to register a share of a property within the required time frame. So, and warned, she gave him a warning saying any further breaches may warrant more serious action. But Ms. Rayner said, far from learning the lessons of his previous transgressions, well, the Prime Minister has continued with his attitude of treating basic standards of integrity, openness, and transparency with contempt, and behaving as though there's only one rule for him and another for everyone else. And yeah, this is this is the major issue right now. And people want to know, okay, you can't do whatever you want just because you are the prime minister. And this is what the Labour also is looking into, and why, why right now he's being reprimanded by Miss Rayner as well. And this is, Angela Rayner is talking about this, and she reprimanded him and says, okay, all these things about him. And she says, the fact that Mr. Johnson told Lord Gate he'd become aware of the donation for the works on the flat in February this year, but did not settle the invoices personally until the 8th of March, suggests he's in a breach of parliamentary rules that all MPs must follow. So yeah, the code of conduct for members of parliament state that all MPs must register financial interests, donations, and gifts, and Mr. Johnson, as prime minister, is not exempt from any of this. So just because you are the prime minister, you are not above everyone else. And, the law applies to you too, is what she's saying. And Ms. Rayner went on to say that, I therefore write to request that you instigate a further investigation into the prime minister's failure to register his donations using your powers as commissioner. She also accused Mr. Johnson of breaching the general principle on conduct in public life, including selflessness, integrity, and leadership. So yeah, Ms. Stone is already investigating whether Mr. Johnson properly declared a £15,000 holiday on the Caribbean islands of Mystique with his wife, Carrie, that then. So yeah, this is, another thing with his wife, Carrie Johnson, right now. So Downing Street spokesperson said, Lord Gate independent report shows the Prime Minister acted in accordance with the ministerial code at all times and set out this background to the intended establishment of a Downing Street trust. So yeah, the reports show how at all times the Prime Minister followed the advice of officials, and he has made a declaration, rather, in his list of ministerial interests as advised by Lord Gate. So the House of Commons rules and Electoral Commission guidance are clear that the support relating to ministerial activity should be declared through ministerial declarations, and this has been done. So right now, that's the question. They're saying, okay, he did follow through the rules. He did, make sure that he abided by them. So what is going on? Why are they poking into this? Well, the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards has the power to refer a case, to the Committee on Standards if she deems it is serious enough, and the committee can, in principle, recommend suspension. So yeah, the sanctions for less serious cases can require the MP to acknowledge and apologize for any of these breaches. And Mr. Johnson faces 2 other inquiries into the flat refurbishment, and the Electoral Commission is conducting its own investigation into whether the Conservative Party broke the rules on declaring donations over the Downing Street flat and has the power to issue a fine of up to £20,000. So meanwhile, Cabinet Secretary Simon Case, the UK's top civil servant, is also looking into the refurbishment, including whether donations were properly declared. So a lot of people are poking their nose into this, because this is also something that is, going on. And this is very important right now, because, it just shows that just because you are in a certain seat of power does not make you above the law, and you're supposed to follow every rule there is in the country, because this is just, how it works. This is how democracy works. And this is, what Boris Johnson should be doing. He should be focusing on these things and making sure that he makes these declarations. And you can't really come up with an excuse and say, oh, I didn't really know how he was going to get paid, and it got paid somehow. And because end of the day, you have to understand there are people who have their own agendas. And when they do that, when they get involved in something like this and they start giving you money more than you'd expect, and it's very altruistic of them, there's always some kind of gain to be made from this. And there's some kind of profit to be had from all of this. So the government right now, especially the Labour Party, who wants to know where is this money going for? Why did he not know about this? Why didn't he report this sooner? And they're doing right now a very, very thorough investigation with regards to this. And they are asking, to make sure that there are, this is punitive. They can take punitive action against him. That's what they're trying to say. And this is just, it's part of the whole thing. And it's a very big problem and concern right now. If your own prime minister, the person who handles the country right now, is not being honest and not being transparent 100%. The government wants to know, why is that? Why couldn't they just open up and tell us, okay, this is the situation, X, Y, and Z. This is how we messed up. This is how I'm going to explain myself. And he should have done it. I really don't get why he had to wait last minute before people to find out and then make an issue out of it. Because if you did announce it before this whole thing happened, well, people won't be, going crazy about this. They won't be, zoning in on you. And right now, this is the situation Boris Johnson is facing. So yeah, these are just, some of the things that is, going on right now in the UK. And it's just crazy. And with this whole situation, bombing or like this whole explosive situation right now is bombarding all of this our news feeds. You can see all these things. How people want to know the real answer. Why Boris Johnson didn't make a declaration, and why is it going? Why it's such a big issue? It is a very big issue if he did not declare his assets and all of this because it's a misconduct right there, and that's a problem, and that he shouldn't even be doing something like that is the concern. And looking at things though, other than the things related to apartments and all of that. Well, the Bus Depot bid to be UK's largest electric vehicle charging hub. So that's also of something that is gaining traction right now, and it's becoming a big deal right now in the UK. And hopefully, this is gonna keep moving forward as we go along. So Scotland's big bus operator has announced it is building the UK's largest electric vehicle charging hub. So a lot of these vehicles can go there and charge. I mean, that's something that we really need at this moment, if we want to get to that net zero situation. And First Bus will install 160 charging points and replace half its fleet with electric buses at its Caledonia depot in Glasgow. So the program is expected to be completed by 2023, with the first 22 buses arriving by autumn. So this is the best thing about it. These buses, these big hubs, well, they are mobile. They can be moved from one place to the other. So there's always the chances of, you can find out, okay, where is the closest? Well, if hopefully they'll bring up an app because of this, and they show, okay, where's the closest charging hub? Okay, the mobile charging hub. Okay, the bus is close here. This is where we can go and charge our vehicles. And these are just some of the things, that they want to do and hopefully, pick up. And the program is expected, like I said, to complete in 2023. And the charging full fleet will use the same electricity as it takes to power a town of 10,000 people. So the scale of this project means changes are needed to the power grid to accommodate this extra demand. And this is going to be a big. This is also going to be of concern because, like I said, this is going to require a lot of energy. It's going to require an energy of a town with 10,000 people in it. That's a lot of people. I mean, in case you are wondering, you as one individual might be using more electricity, like at least 5 people's electricity right there. You got the vacuum on, you got the lights on, the AC, the fan, whatever it is. And the TV on, the PlayStation, all these things, devices working all day long. I mean, for 10,000 people like this, 10,000 different households as well. So it just shows the incredible demand of these charging posts, these charging hubs rather. And the scale of the project means changes, like I said, are required to the grid. And first, Glasgow Managing Director Andrew Jarvis said, we've got to play out our part in society in changing how we live and all work. So a big part of that is emissions from this vehicle. And he went on to say that transport is stubbornly high in terms of emission, and bus companies need to play their part and are playing their part in that zero emission journey. And they're doing their part. Essentially, what he's saying is they're doing their part. They're making sure that they get right to it. And to do that, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start this initiative right now in Scotland. And like I said, First Bus currently operates 337 buses out of its largest depot, with another 4 sites across Glasgow. So the next buses will be built by Alexander Dennis at his manufacturing sites in Falkirk and Scarborough. So the transition requires a £35.6 million investment by the first, and with electric buses costing almost double the £225,000 bill for a single decker running on diesel. So the company says maintenance and running costs are much lower than in comparison to all these diesel vehicles as well. And the buses can run on urban routes for 16 hours and can be rapidly recharged in just 4 hours. So that's still a lot of waiting time in comparison. Yes, they can go for 16 hours. They could drive the vehicle, but there's going to be a charging port for at least, it'll take 4 hours to charge. So, I mean, it's understandable. You can go maybe have a nap or something and get it charged. And then by the time you're done with napping, well, you can come back up into your vehicle and it's already full on charge. Presto primo right there. So this is a big business investment, which the company wouldn't be able to achieve on its own. So the government's grants only covers 75% of the difference between the price of a diesel and an electric bus. So it is still a bit more expensive for them. So they know that they have to do it as a social responsibility. And because the requirements for using low emission zones are likely to become even more stricter. So the SNP manifesto committed to electrifying half of Scotland's 4,000 or so buses within 2 years. So some are questioning whether that's even achievable in the time scale. given the electricity grid changes that would be necessary for changing and charging all of these these big buses. And the commitment, it's a commitment that the environmental groups will certainly hold them to. So they want these, especially when it comes to the company first, they want them to hold into this and make sure that they follow through with their promise. And Transport Scotland is providing 28.1 million pounds of funding to the first bus as part of the Scottish Government's commitment to electrifying half of Scotland's buses in the first 2 years of the parliamentary term. So Net Zero Secretary Michael Matheson said it is absolute critical that we decarbonize our transport systems, and that we have to set out a very ambitious plan of how we are going to do this, or how we're going to be about to do this, rather. And we've set out a target to make sure that we decarbonize as many of these buses and these fleets of buses across Scotland as possible, and at least half of it over the next course of the couple of years. And we'll set out our plans later out this year of how we'll drive that forward. So transport, like I said, is the biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Scotland, which are responsible for accelerating climate change. So in 2018, the sector was responsible for 31% of the country's net emissions. That is a huge margin. And First Glasgow has been trialing 2 electric buses since January 2020. So back in 2020, they're still trialing this, and they're still trying to see if this can work. Can this work? And driver Sally Singles also said that they've gone down well with passengers because they were much more quieter than these diesel buses. So she added, in the beginning, it was strange for them not hearing them coming, but they've adapted very easily, and they can now check on. And it's very more comfortable, and you're not feeling a gear change, and the braking smoother. And they think these great buses are, it's going to be great to drive. And this is just, like I said, change is coming. Change, in case you guys are wondering. If you're looking to invest in something, well, I'm telling you, maybe in the next couple of years, the way it's going, well, diesels and petrol, fossil fuels, all of these vehicles will be going out of style, because a lot of these big companies, these big car companies as well, are trying to transition into electric, and they're trying to transition into a more cleaner fuel. And this is going to be very important. This is going to make a significant change in the next couple of years. Hopefully, this is something that will go through. And with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we will be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, RELAKS. This is, where we try to relax and we try to keep it real, because right now this is Real Talk with me, Nick, keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. And we're talking about all things that is going on right now in the UK. There's a lot of these stuff that is happening. And with concerns to all of this, when you look at the whole issue with the COVID situation in the country, there's a lot of these talks going on right now. And like I said, right now, one of the biggest issue is Portugal issue at hand. That is what happened. And a lot of these places right now, the UK is banning, and they are taking more precaution. They're taking more secure steps with this regards, because they don't want this whole virus, this whole situation to spread. And this is just, some of that other things. So the Euro 2020 fan zone in Glasgow, an absolute slap for hospitality. Yeah, that's an issue right now. So the decision to create a Euro 2020 fan zone in Glasgow and rising COVID cases has been described as an absolute slap to the hospitality sector. So the city's only moved to level 2 on Saturday after enduring some of the strictest restrictions in the country for almost 9 months. Well, guess what they do? And a trade body fears, that mass gatherings of up to 6,000 fans a day could lead to a return to level 3. And the Scottish government right now said that the fan zone plan was still being reviewed. It's not really said, they didn't give the okay as of yet. It's still being reviewed, though. They're still deciding whether they should go through with it or not. But it's just crazy. As soon as they come out of lockdown, they are already having plans for this. And yeah, it just goes to show, how when the effort people want to put effort into things, well, they can't seem to be able to do it. So yeah, it's just some of those things. And the Scottish government said the fan zone is still being reviewed, and First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is expected to address the issue during a virus update to the Parliament in Tuesday. So yeah, right now though, it could be later in the week before a final decision is announced. There's nothing really concrete as of yet. And yeah, festival atmosphere is in the air, and it's been revealed last month though that the Glasgow Green event would be open for 31 days of the tournament from the 11th of June. So organizers said there would be a festival atmosphere with food, with drinks and activities, as well as screening of all the games. But since then, case numbers have risen in Scotland, and on Friday, the country recorded its highest number of daily positive tests since February. So Stephen Montgomery of the Scottish Hospitality Group said his members were worried about the potential fallout. So yeah, they're very afraid of what is going to happen after this, and how all these things right now will fall down at the works. And this is what right now at the seams, they're feathering at the seams, and this is a big problem. And they're saying, he went on to say that we were told at the beginning of May by Glasgow City Council there would be no alcohol at the fan zone, and now we are having it. So they think it's an absolute slap to the hospitality sector, with Glasgow, who have just opened in a level 2 situation. So Mr. Montgomery said he accepted there was less risk of the virus spreading outdoors, but he highlighted reports that the Delta variant first detected in India is 40% more transmissible. And he added hospitality in Glasgow cannot be forced back into level 3's situation after this, because Glasgow didn't ask for this. And yeah, if you're planning to watch all these things, this is what is going on, the Euro 2020. This is just how the situation is. And Mr. Montgomery went on to admit that there was a fear that the event would take business away from pubs and restaurants, but he claimed that the issue was not just about the hospitality sector, as restrictions have also affected the retail. So because of this restriction situation in the country, a lot of the retail in the country right now is struggling, and we have really no place to go, and they're wondering, okay, this is impacting the market, this is impacting the industry, and it's not in a very positive way. And he said his members were not allowed to advertise that they were showing the tournament, which kicks off in Rome on Friday, and he criticized the proposed testing protocols. So the fan zone will be ticketed and subjected to the physical distancing rules. But while these attendees are being encouraged to test themselves before going to the fan zone, a negative result will not be required before entry is granted. So this is just also another issue as well. So it's not going to be required if you have a negative result. If you don't, a result doesn't really matter. They're not asking for results. They're not asking for you to get a COVID test so you can come into these places. But they're saying that it's not really required if you're going to gather inside of this place. And this is going to be a problem. So there are no fan zone tickets left for Scotland's group games against the Czech Republic, which is going to be on the 14th of June, England by the 18th of June, and Croatia by 22nd of June. And some supporters have even booked hotels in the city so they can attend. And yeah, should Scotland progress to the knockout phase of a major tournament for the first time? Well, both potential last 6 matches dates, so that's 28th and the 29th of June, have also sold out. So a lot of these tickets have been selling out faster than hot pancakes. And as all of the tickets for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and final on the 11th of July. So Mr. Montgomery said, we've seen in Liverpool in the trial events that everybody was tested and before they went in, and everybody was tested after they were done. And we're not seeing that in Glasgow Green. People are coming in without testing. So this is a problem. In case you guys are wondering, that's something that happened, and that is, what right now the situation they're demanding is, okay, when we were having the Liverpool trial events, well, the people were tested before they entered the arena, and after they exited. But right now, the Glasgow Green, we're not going to be seeing any of that, and that is of concern because they just came out of level 2, and that is a problem. I don't get why people are very irresponsible when it comes to that. Why organizers are irresponsible when it comes to that. Why are they not taking a focus on this? Why are they taking very likely rather is the problem. And the public health sector, Professor Linda Boud, said she was worried about the idea, and she said Professor Boud went on to say that although the fan zone is outdoors, it carries a risk of transmission as people will be cheering and hugging while watching the football. And she added, my personal view, and this is a very personal view, I would have appreciated if it might have been run a little bit like the event's research program. So the festival in Liverpool, where people had to demonstrate a negative test before they went in, but it doesn't sound like that has been set up as of yet. Right now, maybe there's something that they might do, but as of yet, currently, the problem is they're not going to implement any of this testing, a negative test before you enter in. So this decision will be taken this week, but it is not without its risk, and that is absolutely the case. And that is absolutely the problem right now. And last week, another expert called on the Scottish government to rethink its decision to allow supporters into the fan zone without testing them for COVID. So the University of Edinburgh, Dr. Christine Tate Bergen said allowing fans to gather was a risk and urged them to test themselves before attending. So they're saying, okay, whatever said and done, we need people to get tested. This is very important. We have to take responsibility for this, and we have to make sure that we're on top of the game. We're on top of this, and we're making sure that this is something that we can address, because this is going to be a problem. Numbers of cases will rise, and people are worried about what is going on with all this. And like I said, a lot of individuals, when it comes down to it, they are just going to go into these places and they won't even have a care in the world. And once they do, though, and they get the virus, then the virus is just going to spread, and that's going to pose a risk for, in my opinion, national security, because this should be right now. We shouldn't even be throwing any of these events. As the figures show, like right now, we've had the country of Portugal moved from green list to amber list, and that is a problem. You can see that the situation right now is rising in those countries. So if the cases are rising there, what makes it so certain that the cases are not going to rise here? And on top of that, there's not going to be any sort of testing involved in any of this, and that is of concern. People should, they should be tested. They should be known, okay, that you have this test, you've done this test, you came out negative, so you don't have to worry about, any of the other tests. And yeah, this is just, another thing that is going on. So we have to be more responsible. Right now, Scotland has to be more responsible. And even though Glasgow is its main city and its main attraction, the government right now, Nicola Sturgeon, also has to consider all of these options, and she has to consider all the chips on the table. So yeah, these are just some of the things that she has to make sure that they follow, and the government right now will have to make a smart decision when it comes to this. And when you look at the other parts of the world right now, other parts of the UK rather, all adults in Wales right now is being offered the first jab by Monday. You can see that a lot of these adults are still getting their jab. So how can we even have these kind of events? And that's just my 2 cents on it. And speaking of, since we're on the topic of Wales being offered their first jab, well, all the adults, like I said, will be offered first jab, the COVID jab, by the start of next week. This is what the Welsh government is saying. So if reached, it would mean that the target would have been met 6 weeks ahead of the schedule. So if all the adults right now get their vaccine, well, the schedule is to get it done by the 21st of June. But if they get it done now, well, it is way earlier than the schedule what they planned for. So right now, the ministers have pledged to offer all adults second doses by the end of September. So Wales is ahead of other UK nations for the first dose, but behind England and Scotland for people fully vaccinated. So right now in Wales, they have the most population to get the first dose of the vaccine. They have more population than the UK and Scotland combined right now. But with the figures showing, it's still behind England and Scotland when it comes down to people fully vaccinated. That means getting 2 of the doses of the vaccine. So First Minister Mark Drayford promised the second jab program would be as quick as the first if supplies allowed. So research has suggested that the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Oxford AstraZeneca jabs are highly effective against the variant identified in India after 2 doses. So after you get these 2 doses, they say that if you get either the AstraZeneca or the Pfizer, well, it's going to be super effective they say it's going to be effective rather when it comes to fighting the variant, which is the Delta variant, which was first identified in India. So figures show at least 2.18 million people, so 2.18 million people, or 86% of the adult population, have had their first dose, and almost 1.25 million have had a second dose. And when you compare it, to those kind of figures, Wales' rate on Monday was 9.4 cases per 100,000, still within the range of 7 to 10 that it's been, since the start of the May. So along with other UK nations, Wales had committed to offering a first dose to all over 18s by the end of July. So by the time end of July comes, hopefully everyone will get vaccinated and all the adults will get vaccinated. So at a press conference, Mr. Drakeford suggested booster jabs and vaccines for secondary school children could be taking place in autumn. So right now, they're looking to the future of this, to the future of getting your jabs. Well, they say, he went on to say, Mr. Drakeford said, all these booster vaccine programs might be required then because we still don't know a lot about the coronavirus. So we still don't know how long natural immunity lasts. And people who've had the illness had some immunity, and we don't know when that begins to wane. We don't really know the exact numbers or the exact figures, and that is of concern, and that is somewhat distressing. And is what he's trying to say, and he's trying to point this out. And at the weekend, UK regulators approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use with 12 to 15 years of age. So yeah, officials on the UK Joint Committee on Vaccine and Immunization, or the JCVI, now have to consider how to move forward. So Mr. Drakeford said the Welsh government would follow its advice and said work was starting to see how vaccination for coronavirus to young people in secondary schools might be offered in the autumn. So if that is what the JCVI has recommended. So this is, of concern. Like I said, a lot of this is being, discussed on right now, and they're trying their best to get this whole boat under the way. But let's see, how it goes. Hopefully this is something that they can address. Yeah, this is, like I said, with all regards to this is something that the Welsh government can do. And Mr. Drakeford said that the Welsh government should not lift every restriction on the 21st of June, even if they were all lifted in England. So even if our counterpart has lifted all of their restrictions, we better make sure we don't do it. And that's, in my opinion, a very smart move. And he also said there was no plans for a Freedom Day when the final coronavirus restrictions are lifted in Wales. So, because think about it, it's not really necessary. It's not something we can celebrate because at the same time, although you might think like it could be a good idea, it sounds good on paper, but when you really think about it, the issue will cause problems, and it's going to be a big issue. And that's because what it's going to do is it's going to show that, we don't care anymore. Right now, we all got our vaccines, so there's no concern whatsoever of being carrying any kind of vaccine or whatsoever. So that is the other problem, and they're saying right now, Wales, we don't really need something like that. And the UK government has set 21st of June as a possible date for lifting the final restrictions in England. So Mr. Drakeford said, we are all well into the restorations of freedoms in Wales, and we have been restoring freedoms in Wales since February. And he went on to say, we will continue to do it in exactly that step-by-step way in which, as we become more confident that the public health position in Wales warrants it. And then he said that, then we will restore freedoms without running the risk that everything we have achieved together can go backwards. So this is, discussion, what he's trying to say. And he says, they want to do right now is break the link between the illness and hospitals. So the First Minister said he was very confident, though, that the vaccination program was effectively breaking the link between illness and hospitalization, where the Kent or the Alpha variant was concerned. But more time was needed, he said, to assess whether the vaccine was as effective in reducing hospital admissions for those affected by the Indian variant, or in other words, the Delta variant. So yeah, right now they don't really have any conclusive proof with regards to that. And there's been 97 cases of the Delta variant in Wales, with 54 cases in the county, in the Conway County area. So there's been an increase, though, in non-attendance rates, and this is also something that is of concern. And it comes as the Welsh government published a strategy that said over the past month, there have been an increase in non-attended rates across the Wales. So it said that this could be due to transport issues, being unable to reschedule appointments easily, and responsibilities such as childcare and out-of-pocket expenses incurred, incorrect patient contact details, access and logistical issues, in addition to lack of confidence and trust in the vaccination. So this is what the government right now is saying. We are having these issues. This is somewhat of a problem. So they say that because of this, there's been an increase in the non-attendance rates. So groups who have had particular difficulties include the homeless people, those from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups, or the BAME, groups and people with disabilities, asylum seekers and refugees, and single parents is what the strategy said. However, Mr. Drakeford said the vaccine uptake between these certain groups was closing in, and this is something that we're going to be doing, as we move forward. Hopefully, they can pick up on this. And with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we will definitely be right back after this. And taking a look at your time right now, it is 4:26. Good evening.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is Nick, keeping you company all the way until 6 p.m. You know what is going on right now? We are trying to keep it real, and we're keeping you up to date, keeping you informed with what is going on right now across the globe, across the UK. And yeah, with that matter though, is a lot of these things is going on, and one of that is the G7 summit. Yeah, that's right. Right now, the G7 summit that happened actually a couple of days. Is going to be happening, and yeah, that's just the issues at hand. What is going on? What is this whole G7 HQ? In case you guys are wondering, well, tune in to find out more. And all you got to do is simple. You call me up in case you guys don't know what is going on. Hit me up on those numbers: 0785-2473-473. That's right. Those are the magic numbers. So yeah, getting back to the topic at hand, though, what is all of this G7 summit, and why is it in Cornwall? Well, world leaders, including the U.S. President Joe Biden and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, are expected in a Cornish resort next week. So yeah, they'll be there to hold face-to-face meetings during a summit of the G7 nations. So you must be wondering now, what is this whole G7 thing Mike talking about? Is this some kind of food? Is this some kind of a party? Well, it's not. So the G7 is essentially a group of seven. It's essentially, in short, a group of seven, and it's an organization made up of the world's 7 largest so-called advanced economies, and they include Canada. Then we got France, we got Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the United States. And yeah, you're wondering, why is it just a 7? Well, back in 1998, Russia was in the G7. And it was initially formally called the G8, but was excluded in 2014 for its hostile takeover of Crimea. So yeah, that's the reason why from 8 it became a 7. And then China has never been a member, though, despite its largest it's one of it's very large economy and having the world's biggest population in the world. And one of the reasons is because relatively the low level of wealth per person means it is not seen as an advanced economy in the way the G7 members are. So when you come to a comparison like that, it shows, okay, it's not as close to our other countries, the G7 countries, as it is. So right now, China is not in the G7 countries, but representatives from the European Union are usually present, and India, South Korea, and Australia have been invited this year. That is for the G7 summit. So why is this summit in Cornwall? Well, the UK holds the G7 presidency for 2021. And in case you guys are wondering, what's the relevance of this? What is the point of the UK being a president for this whole G7 fan club?
well, they get to announce where they can hold the annual meetings. And it's announced in January, though, that the meeting would be taking place at the Caribous Bay Hotel, and that is going to be happening. So the region is seen as central to the UK's green technology sector. Showing off the country's green credentials is important to the government ahead of the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow in November. So it's not the first time the world leaders have met on the beach. So the last G7 summit in 2019 was held in the French seaside town of Biarritz. So yeah, day-to-day life for locals and tourists in Cornwall will be effective, including the road and path closures. So there's going to be a lot of road and path closures, and there's going to be a lot of blockades. But this is, to be expected because of this. And in some areas of the nearby St. Ives, residents will be able to provide proof of address in order to access their homes. So yeah, in some places they'll actually start showing, okay, your identification, where is it that you live? You have to show kind of proof that you live in this particular area, because right now the G7, these members are going to be coming to this place, so they'll have to tighten the security. This is all part of the procedure. And the UK government said it was important for world leaders to meet in person, and regular COVID testing would actually be taking place. So a lot of these leaders right now, they are going to be coming into the country, and they will be taking these tests prior to arrival. So these are just very important steps right now that the UK is imposing. So what does this G7 summit do? What does this group do? Well, throughout the years, ministers and officials from the member countries hold meetings, and they form agreements and publish joint statements on all of these global events that is happening across the world. It doesn't matter what the particular thing is that is going on. They address all these things that need addressing. So finance ministers have been meeting in London to discuss a possible tax on big tech firms and action on these climate change right now. So right now we're having a lot of these climate change, and global warming is an issue. And there's also the tax when it comes to these big tech firms, especially when it comes to regards like Facebook. We got Google, we got these big companies, these big tech companies. So yeah, these are companies that they want to tax. So the main event is the annual summit, where the leaders will sit down to talk about the biggest issues of the day. So last year's summit, which was due to be hosted by President Donald Trump, was canceled because of the pandemic. And it was the first year without a summit since the group first met back in 1975. So the group was first formed in 1975. That is, several decades ago. So this year, last year's summit rather was the first summit to actually be canceled, and it was also because of the pandemic. So that time, the US rather, was holding presidency when it came to the G7. So what will happen at this year's summit? Well, the main topic of conversation will be the COVID recovery, including a stronger global health system that can protect all of us from future pandemics. These are just some of the steps, that they want to do, some of the steps that they want to emphasize on. And with regards to that, this is what the government and not only the government, but these international bodies as well, they want to focus on. And the agenda will also include climate change and trade, for that matter. So this is also something else that they want to address. And with all of these things, the agenda will also include all of this climate change and trade, and leaders will arrive on Friday, 11th of June, and meetings will get underway under the following morning, with guest countries arriving that afternoon. So they'll be coming in that afternoon, and then they'll be doing the summit, and then after that, they'll be leaving. So most of the conversation will take place, though, behind these closed doors. It's not going to be an open, but there are also usually set piece moments on camera, including obligatory leaders' photos. And at the end of the summit, the UK, as the host nation, will publish a document called a communique. So this outlines, what has been agreed by the leaders. In case you guys are wondering, this is something to do like with your office work. When you have your minutes, well, they have something more fancier, and it's called a communique. And UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to hold a press conference on that Sunday. So will there be protests and more police though on the roads? That is, the kind of questions. Should we be expecting something like this? Well, protesting and policing are both more difficult this year because of the COVID restrictions. So, these things come hand in hand. Right now, there's not going to be enough cops, and there's not going to be protesting because of the restriction. Right now, it's been very strict. So police have hired a cruise ship to help house officers of nearby Falmouth. So more than 5,000 extra officers on top of 1,500 from Devon and Cornwall will police the summit. So demonstrators have been told they can gather in 4 approved protesting sites, including one in Exeter, more than 100 miles away. So police have said they are not naive enough to expect that every protest will take place solely in those foresight. So they know that the people are not going to follow through with the rules. They will, although they said these are the places that they can protest, they're not going to be protesting there. They're going to come even closer. And climate activist group Extinct Rebellion says it expects 1,000 people at its protests in Cornwall. So does this G7 actually have some sort of power? Well, when you come, with regards to this, they do. So it can't, essentially they can't pass or bypass any big law. But because, it's made up of separate nations, they have their own democratic processes. However, some decisions can have its global effects. And for example, the G7 played a crucial role in setting up a global fund to fight malaria and AIDS back in 2002. So yeah, the G7 has been criticized as being out of date, partly because it does not include two of the largest countries in the world, and that is India and China. And in 2020, Donald Trump called it a very outdated group of countries. So right now, yeah, they need to update that when it comes to with that regards. And like I said, right now, police in Scotland sends 400 officers to this G7 summits in Cornwall as well. So more than 400 officers and staff from Police Scotland are being deployed also to help with security at this week's G7 summit in Cornwall. So about 200 police officers left in a convoy from the force headquarters in Tilly-Allen. And this was back in Sunday morning, so the remainder will travel before the 3-day summit begins in Caribous Bay on Friday. So Chief Constable Ian Livingstone said the deployment would not affect the policing requirements in Scotland. So although we have a lot of our officers going to this summit, well, it's not going to affect any of the deployment right now. It's not going to affect any of the policing requirements that will be required in Scotland. So the G7 summit will be taking place from the 11th to the 13th of June with the leaders of the US, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, the UK, and Japan attending. So UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that he was planning to use the summit to urge the G7 leaders to help vaccinate the world by the end of the next year. So this is the agenda. This is right now what Boris Johnson is saying. This is what he wants to do. This is the step that he wants to take, and he wants to urge these leaders, the other 6 leaders as well, from Canada, from France, from Germany, from Italy, from Japan, and from the United States. He wants to urge them to help vaccinate the world by the end of next year. So security for the meeting is also being coordinated by Devon and Cornwall Police, and further contingents from Police Scotland will head south in the coming of the day. So right now, the Chief Constable Ian Livingstone said he had consistently made the clear great benefits of close cooperations among the UK police force. So they're saying, right now they approve of all this deploying, and they're doing a lot of consideration, and they're being very cautious, and they don't want any of the police, leaving the country to affect the policing required in the nation right now. So this is one of the things, that they are looking into, and they're looking, they're trying to make this better. And with that regards, though, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a very big thing, and this is going to be a thing that will be spoken about, hopefully in the next couple of years, because this is one of the decisions right now where this is like a prerequisite before a pre-meeting, rather, I'd like to say, with the 7 most biggest countries, advanced economies in the world. And they're going to be discussing what they're going to be discussing as well in the COP26. So this is just, some of the things that will be addressed. And hopefully those things also will be spoken about, with the coming of the months. Hopefully that is also something that they will address. Let's see, how it goes. And since, we're talking about all things that is going on around the world, the U.S. has approved its first new Alzheimer's drug in 20 years. So it's been 20 years since their first, first drug that they've properly, given to the public and approved. Right now, it's the first in 20 years, and this is for Alzheimer's. So the first new treatment for Alzheimer's disease for nearly 20 years has been approved by the regulators in the United States, paving the way for its use in the UK. So right now, it's not just the United States gaining from this, but rather the whole world. So aducanumab, I guess, am I pronouncing this right? I'm not quite sure. It's the thing that targets the underlying cause of the Alzheimer's. So that's the most common form of dementia rather than its symptoms. So at least 100,000 people in the UK with a mild form of the disease could be suitable for the drug. So approval from the UK regulator could take more than a year though, but then it will be coming. It's going to come. And charities have welcomed this news because this is definitely some good news that is happening right now. And the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, said there was substantial evidence that the aducanumab reduces amyloid beta flakes in the brain, and that this is reasonably likely to predict the important benefits to the patient. So this particular enzyme or drug is going to affect a lot of these things, and it will affect the memory centers, especially of these people who have Alzheimer's and this form of dementia. So this particular thing targets the amyloid, a protein that forms abnormal clumps in the brain of people with Alzheimer's that causes brain damage and triggers dementia. So this includes memory and thinking problems, communication issues, and general confusion. And in March 2019, late-stage international trials of this drug involving about 3,000 patients were halted when analysts showed it was no better given as a monthly infusion at slowing the deterioration of the memory and thinking problems than a dummy drug. So they're saying this is not as better than a placebo. It didn't really give a proper effect. There was no point in taking this monthly, and it was just, pointless for people to be taking this. But later that year, the U.S. manufacturer Biogen analyzed more data and concluded higher doses of this drug essentially significantly lowered the cognitive decline. So what it's going to do right now is going to reduce the symptoms of the illness, the symptoms of this disorder, the symptoms of Alzheimer's, and what this drug is going to do is going to do that. And these are just some of the things that they are planning. So more than 30 million people around the world, though, are thought to have Alzheimer's, with most of them being between the ages of 65 and above. So for the about 500,000 in the UK, those eligible for this drug will probably require a definitive diagnosis involving a 3D brain scan, which should be very detailed and be mostly in their 60s or 70s and at an early stage. So in the past decade, more than 100 potential Alzheimer treatments have flopped. And although this drug is not a miracle drug, many doctors are doubtful of its benefits. And its US approval will be a huge boost to dementia research and traditionally underfunded compared with cancer or heart disease. So when it comes to these other like cancer or heart disease, well, there's a lot of big focus when it comes to this because relatively there's more cases with regards to that particular aspect. So this is just something that they're saying, okay, right now with the US rather approving this particular drug, and this is just going to cause a lot of benefits. Hopefully this is something that we can fight in our fight for against Alzheimer's. So this is just something that we can be looking forward to. This is real good news right there. And the drug, in case you guys are wondering, I've been stumbling a little bit by pronouncing the drug, but it's called aducanumab. So that is the drug's name. So in case you guys are wondering what this drug is called, that's the name of the drug. I'm not going to say it again because it's super, super difficult. And with that, we're going to be taking a real quick break. But hey, in case you guys have anything you want to say or you want to let me know, well, drop a message, call me up, 07852 473 473. That's right, those are the numbers. And also don't forget to download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And with that, taking a look at your chime right now, it is 4:55. Good evening. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, RELAKS, where we believe in positivity and none of that negativity because, we want to believe in positive. And this is Real Talk with me, Nick, keeping you company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're talking about all the things that is going on right now in the UK. And one of that is house prices have suddenly jumped 9.5% as buyers seek larger homes. And this is what Halifax is saying. So UK house prices leapt another 9.5% in the year to May, so boosted by the government stamp duty holiday, which ends this month. So Halifax said prices rose by more than £22,000 to an average of £261,000. So that is a lot of money involved. Yeah, with that, there's a leap. People want to buy their own purchase their own, place, their own little hut or their house. So right now the prices are increasing, and it said, that buyer preferences are shifting in participation of new post-pandemic lifestyle. So that there's a great demand for larger properties with more space. This is what Halifax is saying. The managing director, Russell Galley, is saying. And he went on to say that, that this was leading to an increased willingness to spend a higher proportion of income on housing. So Halifax said annual house price inflation was at its strongest level in nearly 7 years, with UK prices rising by 1.3% month on month. So they went on to say that these kind of things is happening right now. The prices are hiking when it comes down to housing. People want larger houses because of that. And because of the increase in demand, the prices also have been increasing. So cheap borrowing and affordability is giving buyers more purchase power, which is pushing up prices. This is what Mark Harris, the chief executive of mortgage broker SPF Private Clients, have said. And right now the pricing scheme is going high. It did see a little bit of a dip between the years of 2008 and 2010, but right now it is at its highest. It is going up and up. And this is just crazy. Nationwide right now it is 10.9% increase of percentage. So this is nationwide. And in Halifax, it is 8.2, and around the projection will go until 2022. So annual housing price growth was strongest in Wales, with the value soaring by 11.9%, while the Northwest and Yorkshire and Humber both posted a double-digit growth. So what Mr. Harris warned that rising property prices are not good news for first-time buyers and will make getting on the housing ladder even more of a struggle. So if you're going to get a house for the first time, there's going to be a struggle with regards to that and with regards to all of that. So for Wales, and like I said, for Wales and the Northwest, right now the biggest percentage gain since April of 2005, and for Yorkshire and Humber since June 2006. This is what Mr. Galley is saying. And he went on to say that the south of England, traditionally the driving force of national house price performance, is once lagging somewhat behind the rest of the country. So in Greater London, prices are growing much more slowly than the rest of the country, up just 3.1% over the year. So London property prices were already extremely expensive, Mr. Galley pointed out, having experienced a boom following the global financial crisis, a phenomenon not felt by many other UK regions and nations to anywhere near the same extent. So this market is moving so fast that if you blink, it increases in value. This is what Nikki Stevenson, the managing director at estate agent Fine and Country, had to say. And he went on to say, because look, end of the day, when it comes to real estate and property, prices are always going to be increasing. And now with, fossil fuels going out of the market, and we're looking for greener alternatives, people will be cutting down on apartments and they will be moving on to more free housing, hopefully in the future. So with that, there's also going to be an increase in the pricing scheme. So this is just another thing that is going on. And they went on to say, Nikki Stevenson went on to say, it's incredible to watch when desire wrests restless control away from other factors during periods of exceptionally high demand like this. And it could be about to get even busier. It's going to be even more busier. There's going to be more with regards to this. And this is also going to be an issue if you think about it. And with regard, this is, like I said, with regards to all these things, it's just going to be all the same. So she pointed out, the market normally has a lull in the summer months, but now almost all foreign holiday appears to be off. There's nothing stopping the freight train that is unbridled demand for crashing straight through June, July, and August. So Lucy Pendleton of real estate agents James and Pendleton agreed with that analysis, and she went on to say that the inability of Britons to go on holiday means there's no distraction now from executing that ambitious move to a larger house. So right now, people have a lot more money when in comparison to, because of the whole lockdown situation and why people don't get to move out of the country. And this is just another reason, the pricing schemes of these houses are going to be increasing, and it's going to be a lot of money right now. There's a lot of money involved with reports to all of this. So this is just, some of the things that is going on right now with this. If you're looking to buy a house, well, right now, if you are a first-time house buyer, well, make sure you know what you're getting into, because although it looks like it's a good time to be buying houses, it's not really the greatest time, because there will be a price hike, and this is just going to be a lot of money involved. And looking at all these things, there's a lot of these things, being talked about right now in the UK with regards to housing schemes and all of that. So let's see how it goes, though. Hopefully something will come out of this and people can afford to buy the properties or the dream houses that, that they always wanted to get. So these are just some of the things, that you can that people especially can look forward to. And, they can hopefully invest into something like this. This is something that we need as a whole. So let's see, how it goes. We never know what is in store in the future. This is something, that will be going on right now. And this is just, something that is also being discussed. And looking at things internationally, though, right now, India states start reopening amid a dip in the COVID cases. So there's finally a dip right now in the COVID cases in India. So the cases have been dropping, and it seems like right now the situation is getting better. So there are major Indian states that have been the virus hotspots are easing restrictions as the COVID number cases continue to fall. So national capital Delhi and financial hub Mumbai are among the cities that are opening partially. So this comes in the wake of a crushing second wave that saw these hospital beds, these medicines, even oxygen run short. And this caused a lot of spike, and there was an increase in the number of people dying. So the experts continue to advise precaution amid a lagging vaccine drive and the threat posed by these new variants. So when India has administered more than 230 million jabs of a COVID vaccine so far, but less than 4% of its 1.4 billion people have been fully vaccinated. So far people have gotten their jabs, but they've not gotten fully vaccinated as of yet. So it's a struggle to speed up the drive across the country, partly because of the botched rollout. And that's how, there's a lot of demand outstrip the supply. So there's more demand in comparison to supply. And this is what caused, a lot of the issues in India as well. So among other things, it's allowed higher prices for jabs in private hospitals, which has skewed access heavily in favor, these urban areas and those who can afford to pay. So if you're going, especially if you're an Indian, if you're an Indian, the issue is the matter at hand would be that getting these jabs from these private hospitals will be a major concern, because one thing, it's going to be very expensive to get. And this is sometimes something that, you can't even get, especially when you're living in an area like an urban area. So the affordability of the vaccine was pretty demanding and pretty difficult. So vaccine hesitancies to remain a challenge, especially in these rural areas. So India reported around 101,000 new infections on Monday and more than 2,400 deaths so far than the nearly 400,000 daily cases it was recording about a month ago. So we registered some 28 million cases and 349,000 deaths so far, but experts say the actual toll is much, much higher. So right now they're not giving us the exact figure of what is going on, the exact numbers of how many people have died. But, there has been a lot of these cases, and a lot of people have sadly passed away. So despite the drop in cases, not all states have been chosen to reopen, though. Although there are states that are reopening, not all of them have been reopening. So Rajasthan in the north, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana in the south have all extended lockdowns until the middle or the end of this week. So even those that have reported open, like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Haryana, all of these are currently being very cautious in their phases with conditions related to all of this, with the relations to the conditions in the country right now. So a lot of these places, although it's been easing up, you can see a lot of these restrictions easing up in India, hopefully the number of cases drop down. And there should be also, by now there should be a comparative figure also. So scientists and analysts can make better vaccines, hopefully, from all of this, and they can learn from something like this. With the number, like I said, the number of cases in India was staggering at one point. So right now the numbers have been going down. There have been lower cases. There's still people that are dying and passing away. Unfortunately, that's happening right now in India. So this is something that right now the government is doing, is that they're reopening states, and they are doing that because of the dip in the cases. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully, as time goes by, they can find better solutions to all this, and maybe some kind of booster that can help, relieve a lot of the people in the country when it comes to getting their vaccines. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully, it's something that they can do. But with that being said, we're going to be taking one final break before that, and taking a look at your time. It is 5:45. Good evening. Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is the final stretch of the show. Yeah, in case you guys are wondering, this is Real Talk with me, Nick, keeping you guys company and keeping you up to date with what is going on all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. It's almost at the time, the end of a Monday. Yeah, just how it goes is sometimes, we were talking about all the things that is going on. And yeah, it does get a lot sometimes with the information and all of the stuff that is, being addressed. And this is just, something that is going on, these are the things that is going on in life. And we sometimes don't have control when it comes to regard to something like this. This is just, some of the things that is progressing in the nation, in the world right now. It gets a lot, but you always got to remember, and, especially if you feel like there's a lot going on, always take a step back, enjoy the fresh air, at least breathe, open your windows, at least ventilate your house if you can, as much as you can. And make sure, that you breathe in all the good stuff. Because, when I mean breathe in all the good stuff, You guys know what I mean. I mean, try not to go outside and start, causing mayhem or havoc and, going and sneezing everywhere. I mean, try to breathe in at your own home, or if you have a little garden, we'll go outside, take a couple of deep breaths, and make sure, you de-stress. And but with that, getting back to the things at hand, though, right now, airline bosses demand UK-US travel corridor. So there a lot of these airline bosses are asking for a corridor when it comes to the UK and the US travel. So they want a corridor, and airline bosses are urging the US and the UK to allow travel to restart ahead of the G7 meeting in Cornwall. So the bosses of all these airlines that offer UK-US flights and Heathrow airports issued a joint call for a transatlantic travel corridor on Monday. So back in Monday, they were talking about something like this, and nearly all the passengers from the UK are currently banned from traveling to the United States. So under a presidential decree, though, introduced last March, non-US citizens who have been in the UK in the last 14 days cannot enter the country unless a specific exemption applies. So meanwhile, the travelers from the UK to the US, from the US to the UK must self-isolate for 10 days on arrival, as the country is on the amber list. So if you are from the US and you travel to the UK, well, you must self-isolate just because the US is under the amber list. And you will have to undergo this for 10 days. But airline bosses are argued, though. They've been talking about this and they've been addressing such situations. And on Monday, that's because of the speed of vaccine rollout in both countries, travel should be allowed to resume. So Shay Weiss, the boss of Virgin Atlantic, said there is no reason for the US to be absent from the UK green list. This overly cautious approach fails to reap the benefits of the successful vaccination programs in both the UK and the US. And adding the US to the green list would remove the need for quarantine on return to the UK. Passengers would, however, still need to have proof of a negative COVID result test depending on the departure. So this is as soon as they depart, they'll have to do these tests. And customers, families, and businesses need to book and travel with confidence. And after 15 months of restrictions, the time to act is now. This is what Mr. Weiss is saying. And right now, economically, there's an engine going on. And John Holland Kay, the chief executive of Heathrow Airport, said connectivity between the UK and the US is one of the great engines of the global economy. So right now, the UK, with the relationship and the travel between these two countries, is an economical engine, I'd like to say. That's the best phrase I can say. And in a statement, the group estimated that UK businesses are losing £23 million each day that transatlantic trade links remain closed. So they went on to say that Mr. Holland Kay went on to say the scientific data shows transatlantic travel and trade can be reopened safely, and every day that policymakers delay puts jobs, livelihoods, and the economic chances of hardworking folks across our countries at risk unnecessarily. So Doug Parker, the chief executive and chairman of American Airlines, also said reopening travel between the two countries a critical next step is what he's saying, and into travel industry and the global economy recovery. So they're saying right now, economically, we can recover very well. And end of the day, these are all business people. They need money. So they will talk about all these things, and they will try to gain sympathy and traction with that regards. But then we have to understand the U.S. at the moment has a lot of cases as well. And it's because of that the industry reacted with a dismay when no more countries were added to the UK's green list, and Portugal was relegated to amber last week, with the rule change taking effect from 4 on Tuesday. So critics have warned a loss of jobs and confidence, while a lot of these airlines said the government had torn up its own rules. So Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said at the time, the public has always known travel will be different this year. And, we must continue to make a cautious approach to reopening international travel in a way that protects public health and the vaccine rollout. So this is just some of the things that they have to do. I mean, there is no question about it. For people who are expecting something else, well, you were not really smart on traveling. I mean, you have to understand, just because it's green doesn't mean it's supposed to be, you are supposed to be even traveling there, is my, what I have to say about this. With regards to something like this, these are just, some of the things that, we have to be even considering. And like I said, people, just because, you traveled, the country says it's green list, or they say the UK says Portugal is green listed, so we should go to Portugal. All of us should take our families and go to Portugal and pretend like the COVID never existed. Well, you will have to understand that the cases will still arise wherever you are, because you are traveling internationally, what's going to happen is it's going to spread. You're going to make sure it spreads even more. So it's very transmissible. Right now, data have shown that the variant, the Delta variant, is very transmissible. So why not stay indoor? Try to keep it local as much as you can and go out for the essentials until deemed necessary by the government to remove all this relaxation. Because right now we are not at that point or phase where we can even afford something like this. With this regard, like I said, the COVID situation is not gone completely. It's still there. We still have COVID amongst our midst. So why not stay indoors and avoid travel for the meantime until everything gets back to date, until the whole situation dies down and it gets better? Why not wait until this whole thing? I know you get a little bit itchy and you want to go out, you want to see the sun, but at the same time, is it really worth putting everyone else and the ones you love at risk? Is my kind of question. Because right now there's been a lot of these testings as well. COVID surge testing in Walkingham and Reading. So yeah, surge testing is being rolled in the Reading and Walkingham amid concerns over the COVID-19 Delta variant, which was first identified in India. So health officials are encouraging everyone over 11 who lives or works in the area to take a PCR test, regardless of whether they are showing any kind of symptoms. And it comes after small cases and numbers of confirmed cases of the Delta variant were identified in the area. So enhanced contact tracing will also be used for people with the variant. And like I said, with all this whole variant conversation and all this talk about variants, it shows, like, you see, the situation is not great at the moment. So Meriden Beachy, the director of public health for Berkshire West, said, "I'm hoping we get at least 50% of people coming forward, and even that would pick up a lot of positive tests we didn't know about before, so that even it will be a success for us." So she said, previously all these cases were mainly amongst the young people, with virtually nobody over the ages of 60 or anyone who has been vaccinated. So that's the issue right there. And with that regard, especially, she went on to add, if the variant spreads and becomes even more, it may mutate again. And the big concern is that the vaccines won't work. And that's my big concern. And that is a big problem. If we understand, that is a very, very concerning problem. Like I said, right now, all of these concerns are happening. And with regards to all these things, a lot of these people are concerned. And with all the postcode areas in the Reading and Walkingham area, there's been a lot of these testing. So they're being offered in these areas like the RG13 and the RG15, RG16, RG17, the Beaumarchais, Whitesgate, Evidence, Norris, and Westcott. So because of the rising number of coronavirus cases and the emergence of this whole new variant, that is the Delta variant, and which is said to be more transmissible, right now the situation of the country completely easing out of lockdown is in jeopardy. Yeah, right now that's a problem. And the health secretary, Matt Hancock, said the government was absolutely open to delaying the final lifting of England's COVID lockdown on the 21st of June if it is required, if it is necessary. And he added, the Delta variant first seen in England was about 40% more transmissible than the Alpha variant, which is the Kent variant, but the hospitalizations were broadly flat, which meant COVID vaccines were actually working. I mean, this is what they're trying to say with regards to this. They're saying, okay, the numbers of cases have been down, but at the same time, we have to understand, although in comparison to the Kent, which was way worse than the Delta variant. The Delta variant right now is starting off slow, but it looks like it will take a rise if these things continue. If a whole restriction of the country does not happen, if it eases out, well, the cases will be bound to increase. And that's something that is unavoidable. That's something that we cannot avoid. we will and we shall, if it's required, we shall make sure, to delay the restrictions, the easing of the restrictions. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully, this is something that they will consider as they go along. And yeah, like I said, a lot of these cases are right now spreading in the UK. Hopefully, we can get the numbers down, and we won't get any more travel bans or restrictions as we move along in this following month. Let's see how it goes with the rollout going. I am hoping for the best. I'm hoping for more. But hey, you tell me what you guys think. Hit me up on those numbers, 07852 473 473. That's why you can always call me up and let me know and drop a text on what you think, whether the country, the rollout, the vaccine rollout is going as planned, whether it's great, or should we delay the lockdown, the easing of the lockdown rather, in the UK. Let us know on those numbers. And with that, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. But don't worry, I'll be catching you guys again tomorrow, same time, same place. And with that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here. Peace and much love.